Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope everyone is doing good. So, welcome to another video of reproduction in humans. We are on chapter 2 for Maharashtra board and chapter 3 for CBSE board. So, in the previous videos, we have up till covered the male reproductive system, different parts of the male reproductive system, and we also discussed about the asexual reproduction and their types, but that is very little part, the introductory part in your textbook. So we have covered the male reproductive system. Now in today's video, we're going to see about the human female reproductive system. There are various parts to the female reproductive system. So in this video, we are just going to do the labeling, like the important parts of the female reproductive system. And as and when we move forward in our syllabus, so we are going to break down the topics into smaller parts, and we are going to see each and every topic in detail. So this is more or less the introductory video about the female reproductive system. So let's begin. So what we are going to do is we are going to have a closer look at the diagram over here, which you can see. Don't worry, mostly in the exam you will be asked to just label, if at all female reproductive system is diagrammatic, there's something related to diagram is asked, so you will be just given a picture and you might be asked to label this part or label this part. Okay. Drawing as far as the female reproductive system is concerned, so chances of it coming in the board exam is quite less. Okay. I will tell you which diagram as and when we are going through the topic. So I am mentioning which topic, which diagram you have to study, you have to practice for your exam point of view. Okay. So you have to keep that in mind. As far as female reproductive system is concerned, chances of the diagrammatic representation is less. Okay. But explanation about the reproductive system, its part and its function is most commonly asked question in board exam, and it can come approximately from 4 marks to 5 marks worth. Okay. They might give you a comprehension type questions also. Okay. A paragraph, explained paragraph or a diagram, and then they might ask you questions. So that is also that can also come. So let's begin with the female reproductive system. As you can see, various part of the reproductive system, and you see labelings all over the place. So what we will do is we are going to begin one by one. So what we will do is actually we will begin from here. Okay, we will begin from here. That is from the lower segment. So the first part that we will discuss is we'll begin from here. That's the vagina. Okay. So the reproductive system, so this is the outermost exit, you can say, which is the vagina. Okay. Then this vagina opens into cervix. Yes. Okay. This is the track. This is the place where the copulation will take place. Also, it is the birth canal. Okay. Vagina is also the place where normal birth will take place. So it is also known as the birth canal. Okay. So the newborn will be delivered through this passage. Okay. So it is a muscular type of a passage which can expand and which can contract. Fine. Then this cervix opens into this vagina opens into another opening known as cervix. Okay. And the opening point is known as the orifice. Okay. It opens into the cervix. This part is the cervix, and the opening point is known as the orifice. Okay. Basically, cervix is the what you can say, a border or a divider which is present between this structure, which we call this as uterus, and the vagina. Okay, so it's the middle part. It's the barrier or the divider which is present in between. So this is the cervix. Yes, when the pregnancy happens and when the baby is developing inside the womb, this muscular bag-like structure, which is known as the uterus, So this cervix will be closed. Okay, it will be closed. It will there will be a mucus plug over here, and so that the infant also so the embryo is properly growing inside it, and the embryo is well carried in this muscular bag. Okay, when a menstrual cycle is taking place, that is the bleeding of the endometrium, so the cervix will be slightly open and the blood will pass through this, through the vagina. We are going to discuss all this in detail step by step. So we are done with vagina. Here is cervical orifice and here is the cervix. Okay, so you need to know, at least as of now, what is this region known as. Okay, and where is, if I tell you where is the cervix, you should be able to locate, and where is the vagina, you should be able to locate. Okay, now coming to the main part, you can see this dome shaped structure, this circular, this middle oval shaped structure. This is the womb. Okay, this is common terms. Womb, we call it as a common in common language. The actual name of it is uterus. Okay, it is uterus. It's a muscular bag-like structure. Okay, it is muscular bag-like structure which is capable of carrying a embryo which develops into a baby in over a period of 9 months. So this muscular bag-like structure is capable of expansion. Yes, as you can see in pregnant females. So at the end of 9 months, the uterus expands almost to a size of a watermelon to accommodate the growing baby inside. Yes, this uterus is made up of basically 3 parts. So this is the dome, which is known as the upper part circular, which is known as the fundus. This is the body. The central region is the body, and then you have the cervix at the down. Okay, so you can see a cross section how from inside it will look like. These are the muscles. Okay, and you can see there is one thick lining, and then you have the muscle over here. So basically, if you see the uterus, it has 3 linings inside. Okay, so let's just focus on the lining first. Innermost lining, endometrium, middle lining, myometrium, and the outermost lining, or you can just say covering in simple terms for your understanding. So like outermost covering, perimetrium, middle myometrium, and innermost endo. Just like, you know, endo, myo, and perimetrium. This is the outermost covering of the uterus. Fine. Then the middle muscular portion is your myometrium. So when at the time of delivery, so there are labor pains, you might be aware of this terminology. Okay, so this is the myometrium. It is the muscles of the myometrium which contracts and which relax. So this contraction and relaxation brings about a pressure, a kind of stress on the baby when the baby is ready to be delivered outside the uterus. Fine. So myometrium, the muscles of the myometrium under the influence of certain hormones that we will see as and when we move forward in the chapter. So we are going to see that at a later stage, which hormones are involved and how the contraction and relaxation takes place. Okay. Right now, myometrium, middlemost layer or middle portion of the uterus, and this is responsible for contraction and relaxation at the time of delivery, at the time of the birth of the newborn. Also, when menstrual cycle occurs every month, so there will be slight contraction, slight spasm, which is brought about by the uterus, the myometrium specifically. So the pain, the period pains that is experienced by female, so that is because of slight contraction and the spasm which is brought about by the linings of these uterus. And the innermost lining, which is the endometrium, very important to know, and its function is known as endometrium. So every month the female experiences after puberty experiences the menstrual bleeding. So that bleeding is because of the shedding of this endometrium lining. It is because of the shedding. Shedding means what? Rupturing, breaking, okay, of this layer of cells, of this layer of the layer of this tissue. Basically the blood vessels are ruptured, and that is how everything will be collected, and in the form of droplets of blood it will exit the vagina. Fine. Okay, so endometrium, myometrium, and perimetrium, these three linings make up the three uh, parts of the uterus. Okay, now moving towards the side or lateral parts, you can see these tubes coming out. Yeah, you can see these tubes coming out. These are known as fallopian tubes. What are they known as? Fallopian tubes, or you can another word is uterine tube. Okay, another word is uterine tube or fallopian tube or oviduct. This is another name, oviduct. Okay, yes, duct is nothing but a tube. Now this is a tube. Basically it is a passage for the egg which is released from the ovary. Okay, so these are a pair of ovaries on either side of the female reproductive system. So you can see one pair, one ovary over here, another ovary over here. The ovary is responsible for doing what? For producing the eggs. That is the female gamete, right? So the eggs will be made, produced, matured, and when they are ready to be fertilized, so they will be released. Okay, and then they will be passed on into this oviduct. This ovary is attached to this oviduct by this fimbriae-like projection, which will get hold of this egg, which will catch the egg or get hold of this egg. This region is known as infundibulum. Okay, that is the egg will be taken over here, and finally it will be pushed into this oviduct. Okay, so the egg will travel all along over here, and if there is a copulation happened, then the sperm will travel all the way up till here, and somewhere over here fertilization will happen. That is, the male and the female gamete can unite, and then the zygote is formed over here, and it will travel down, and the zygote will try to implant itself into the uterus. This is a long story short, which I am just saying. We are going to see everything in detail. Okay, so right now, just to give you an idea, okay, this is ovary, and a basic function of the ovary you should be aware of. Basic function of the uterus. Here is the place where the implantation of the zygote will happen, and from that zygote the embryo will develop and the baby will eventually be formed after 9 months. Okay, and through the vagina the baby will be delivered. Yes, so you should be able to at least know the function in few lines. Fine. So infundibulum, this is the oviduct, or you can call it as the uterine tube, and obviously everything is connected by blood vessels. So you can see all these blood vessels, the red and the blue one. Blue is denoting the veins which will carry deoxygenated blood to and fro from the body and to the reproductive system, and the red ones will carry the oxygenated blood. So the arteries and vein blood supply, blood vessels will be there. Okay, you can see this bigger portion, something over here like a flap like thing. It is present on both the side, but it is shown only on one side. So this is your ligament. Okay, it is known as broad ligament, and it is also having blood vessel connection. And here you can see the ureter. Yes, so somewhere here you will see the urinary bladder, obviously, but we are discussing only the female reproductive system, so only that picture is there in the diagram. Ureter is connected to the kidneys backside, so your female reproductive system is present, and then backside my kidneys are there. Okay, this broad ligament is basically the tissue which will help the uterus to stay in proper position. Okay, so the ligament is doing that work. So you have this flattened structure of ligament, and also you have this round ligament. Yeah, what is ligament? We have discussed this time and again. It's a kind of a connective tissue. Remember when we were talking about different types of tissue, and in connective tissue, you have blood, you have ligament, tendon, bone. So ligament is more or less like the soft bone. Okay. So this is connecting organs. It is helping the organ to be in proper position, structure. Yes. So here, which organ are we talking about? We're talking about the uterus, the whole reproductive, female reproductive system. Okay. So more or less, these are the major labelings of the female reproductive system. Now we will move to the first important part of the female reproductive system, and we will discuss it in a bit detail, which is the ovary. You can see something written as follicle over here. We are going to discuss in the next few minutes. Okay. So let's begin with the first part, that is the ovaries, which are the ones which will produce the egg. Okay, so a more closer look how it looks like. So the ovary, the egg, and then this is the uterine tube. Yeah, two labelings that will add on: ampulla region and the isthmus region. So this curved part is known as the ampulla region, and then this narrow tube going down to the uterus will be known as isthmus. Okay, just a label you need to remember. Fine. This is the inside hollow part of the uterus. This is how it will look like. Fine. Okay. So let's have a look on the ovary, how it looks from inside, and what are the major functions of ovary in female reproductive system. So the main function, very important, you should be knowing, is production of the egg. Egg is the female gamete, or you can call it as ovum, and also the reproductive hormones of the females will be produced by the ovaries. Okay, some of the female reproductive hormones. So this ovary is solid. Okay, it is oval in shape, egg shape, or almond shaped organ. Yeah, we are just specifically discussing about the ovary. And where it is located? It is located in the upper lateral part of the pelvic near the kidneys. So the whole reproductive system is backed by the kidneys, and this is in the upper pelvic region. So you have the pelvic region, so upper pelvic region. Okay. Yeah. Then each ovary is held in position by the ligaments by attaching it to the uterus and the abdominal wall. This is just we saw in the previous slide. So the whole organ is supported by these ligaments. Okay, so even the ovary, the uterus, they are all attached to one another and held in proper position by the ligament. What are the hormones that are produced by the ovaries? So it has these five main hormones: estrogen, progesterone. Sometimes you also write E over here, so that is also okay. Relaxin, activin, and inhibin. Okay, these are the major hormones that will be produced by the ovary. Now, role of all these hormones, when we move to the uh, oocyte formation, oogenesis, then we'll discuss menstrual cycle in detail. So we are going to discover the role of these, some of these hormones, and when we discuss parturition, that is labor and how the delivery is done. So then we will look into detail about relaxin, activin, and other hormones. Okay, so we are going to discover the functions of all these hormones step by step. Right now, you just have to know these facts. Fine. That the ovary main function is production of egg. It is supported by ligaments. It is in the upper lateral part of the pelvis near the kidney. So oval shaped organ produces hormones like estrogen, progesterone, all these hormones. And there is an epithelial covering of the ovary. Yes. And if you will see the inside of the ovary, that is the histology, when you cut it, and how it looks like inside. So it will have two regions inside, one darker region and one lighter region. So usually the darker portion is on the periphery, that is on the outline. Okay, this region, like outline. So this region is known as the cortical region, or the cortex we call it as, and the middle region, which is lighter portion, we call it as the medullary region. Okay, where all the blood supply will be there, blood vessels will be there. So this is the medulla and cortex. So outer cortex, inner medulla. This is how you will remember. Out, outer region, cortex, inner region, medulla. Okay, and the fluid which is there inside the ovary will be the stroma. The cytoplasm or the fluid substance which is there, that will be known as stroma. Okay, and what is the cortex having? The cortex is having, you see all these circles, small big circles. These circles are tiny masses of the cells which are known as ovarian follicles. Ovarian follicles will give rise to fully developed and mature eggs. Okay, there are many of follicles which are there, known as primordial follicles, which are there from birth. As the female hits puberty, so one egg gets matured every month. So then there is this development process we are going to do in detail in the next video. So the development process takes place. They undergo development like primary follicle, secondary follicle, primary oocyte or secondary oocyte. Then the follicle matures, which is known as Graafian follicle, and then the Graafian follicle finally releases the developed and matured egg, which is now ready to be fertilized by the sperm. Okay, so right now just know that cortex region is the place where the egg will develop, in simple terms. Okay, or another terms that you can assign is ovarian follicles are there. Okay, these are ovarian follicles are in the immature form, and every month they will undergo development and maturation. Okay, so the development and maturation will be brought about by the follicles getting divided. Okay, they will increase their number by mitotic division. Yes, and the place, the parent cell that divides and give rise to daughter cells. So the parent cell will be known as oogonia. Fine. So these cells, that is the follicles, the primary follicles will then divide and grow. So the first stage will be known as oogonia. They will divide mitotically and give rise to many number of oocytes. So oogonia we will call it as. So let's just have a recap. Ovaries function is production of egg. It is oval in shape, located upper lateral part of the pelvis near the kidney. They are attached to the uterus and the abdominal wall by these ligaments. It produces all these hormones. Some of them are estrogen, progesterone, relaxin. And the ovary is surrounded by a thin covering of epithelial tissue, epithelial lining. From inside, the ovary has two zones or two regions, that is the outer region, cortex, and inner region is known as medulla. Inner region is supplied by the blood vessels, whereas outer region is having the developmental places where the ovarian follicles will develop. First stage, that is ovarian follicles will divide mitotically and they will result into something known as oogonia cells. Okay, then how oogonia divides and how the oocytes and the mature egg is formed, we will see in the next video. Okay, so this is an additional point that from how the ovary is at the initial stages till, let's say, up till the 9 month, and what happens after the birth. So there is a lot of changes happening in the fetal ovary. So if the uh, individual, or if the embryo that is developing inside the womb is female, obviously the female reproductive system which is getting developed. So initially when the baby is only 4th to 5th month, then you will see approximately 6 to 7 million of oogonia will result due to repeated mitotic division. When the baby reaches up till 9 months, when that is at the time of giving birth, when the baby is ready to come out into the new world. So at that time, this 6 to 7 million oogonia reduces to form approximately 1 million. Okay, so this is a major change in the fetal ovary. Okay, so of these many million primordial, like very primitive, which formed in the early stages, like early stages, first trimester, okay, they will remain only 1 million at the time of birth. So when a female baby is born, how many eggs she is born with? Approximately 1 million. This 1 million again reduces. It again reduces. Okay. Acha, you might think that what will happen, how this reduction. So basically, these follicles automatically they are destroyed on their own. Okay, they are degenerated naturally on their own. So at birth, only 1 million remains. And when the female reaches puberty, that is approximately 14 to 15 years of age, that is when the female starts experiencing menstrual cycle. Then at that time, the female is remaining with only 40,000 of eggs, or the 40,000 of the primordial follicles which were present from the birth. From birth, it was so many, 6 to 7 at the time of the development. Then at the time of birth, only 1 million remains. And at the time of puberty, that is 14 to 15 years of age, that is at the time we call it as puberty, at that time only 40,000 eggs remains. Okay, so this destruction or degeneration of the egg on a larger scale, it has a term, specific term. It is known as atresia. Okay, so the large scale destruction that takes place of the primordial follicle during the growth of the ovary and the follicle is known as atresia. Remember this term, it might be asked for a one line or an MCQ. Okay, so very important change in the fetal ovary, as well as once the female is born until the time she reaches puberty, so many eggs are remaining. And then after puberty, every cycle, out of these 40,000 eggs, one primordial follicles, one follicle is selected naturally, and then it undergoes development to the formation of a fully matured egg. Okay, so this was all for this video. We discussed about the female reproductive system. Okay, you should be knowing the labelings and briefly function of that particular part. Yes, and histology of ovary. The diagram can be asked in a simpler version to be drawn in the exam. So you need to memorize this diagram as well. And the term atresia. In the next video, we are going to discuss about spermatogenesis and how the spermatogenesis is regulated with respect to hormones. And we will also discuss about the structure of the sperm. So stay tuned. Make a note of whatever you have not understood. You can ask me in the live class. Keep practicing, keep revising. See you in the next video. Thank you all. Bye. Take care.